I stared at the letter in my hand, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and disbelief. The words blurred before my eyes. I, Emily Harper, had inherited a plantation house in Louisiana from a great-aunt I'd never met. Growing up in the concrete jungle of Chicago, I'd always dreamed of escaping to somewhere quieter, greener, somewhere with a story. But this was beyond anything I'd imagined. The journey south was a blur of airports and rental cars. Until finally, I rolled into Bellefontaine, a sleepy town nestled along the Bayou. The air was thick with humidity, heavy with the scent of jasmine and pine. As I drove down the winding road toward the plantation, the landscape shifted. Oaks draped in Spanish moss loomed like silent sentinels, their gnarled branches casting eerie shadows in the fading light. Then I saw it. Magnolia Manor. The house rose from the earth like a relic of a forgotten age, its white paint peeling, its columns choked with ivy. The porch sagged and the windows stared blankly, clouded with years of neglect. It was beautiful in its decay, a testament to time's relentless march. I stepped out of the car, my boots crunching on the gravel, and felt a shiver despite the oppressive heat. The key was cold in my hand as I approached the door. I hesitated, then turned it in the lock. The hinges groaned as the heavy door swung open, revealing a dim interior where dust motes danced in slivers of light. The air inside was stale, thick with the smell of old wood and something faintly floral. My footsteps echoed as I crossed the foyer, my eyes tracing the faded wallpaper and the grand staircase spiraling into shadow. I spent the afternoon exploring, rooms filled with sheet-draped furniture, portraits of stern ancestors glaring from the walls, a library of leather-bound books begging to be touched. Upstairs, the bedrooms were a time capsule, but one stood out. A small room with a canopy bed and a vanity. On it sat a silver hairbrush and a faded photograph of a woman who could have been my twin, my great-aunt perhaps. The resemblance sent a chill down my spine. As night fell, I lit a fire in the hearth and settled into an armchair with a cup of tea. The house was silent, save for the crackle of the flames and the occasional creak of settling wood. Then I heard a whisper, soft as rustling leaves drifting from upstairs. Curiosity tugged at me, and I climbed the stairs, my pulse quickening. The sound grew as I neared the small bedroom, but when I pushed the door open, the room was empty. The whisper stopped, leaving me alone with my racing thoughts. I chalked it up to exhaustion. It had been a long day. Back downstairs, I curled up by the fire, determined to rest, but sleep eluded me. In the dead of night, a chill woke me, a sensation of being watched. I opened my eyes and froze. At the foot of my makeshift bed stood a figure, faint and glowing, a woman in a white dress. Her eyes brimmed with sorrow and something darker. Anger? Before I could scream, she vanished, leaving only the faint scent of jasmine in the air. The next morning, I woke with the sun, the memory of the figure lingering like a bad dream. I told myself it was my imagination, stress from the move, grief over Mom's death 6 months ago, the strangeness of this place. I needed coffee and a plan. I spent the day cleaning, hauling sheets off furniture, and wiping down surfaces coated in decades of dust. The house began to feel less like a tomb and more like a home, though its secrets clung to every corner. In the parlor, I found a stack of old family photos, men in stiff collars, women in hoop skirts, all staring with the same somber expression. One image caught my eye. A young woman with my eyes holding a locket. The back read, Celeste, 1842. A relative, no doubt. By afternoon, I'd met my first neighbor. Mr. Thibodeau, a wiry man with a Cajun drawl, appeared at my door with a basket of pecans. "Welcome to the Bayou, Cher," he said. his grin wide but his eyes wary. Folks say this place got a past. You hear anything strange last night? I hesitated, then laughed it off. Just the house settling, Sure, he nodded, unconvinced. Mind yourself, Magnolia Manor's got stories, none of them happy. His words stuck with me as I continued exploring. In the kitchen, a cabinet door swung open on its own, revealing chipped china. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked underfoot, though I hadn't moved. I shook it off, blaming the wind, but unease settled in my chest. That night, I cooked a simple meal, pasta from my dwindling supplies, and sat by the fire again. The whispers returned, louder this time, a chorus of murmurs I couldn't decipher. I grabbed a flashlight and stormed upstairs, determined to find the source. In the small bedroom, the air grew cold, and the hairbrush on the vanity slid an inch across the table. My breath hitched, but I stood my ground. "Who's there?" I demanded. Silence answered, thick and heavy. I retreated, heart hammering, and locked the bedroom door behind me. Days passed, each marked by small oddities, footsteps in empty halls, shadows that didn't match the light. I was beginning to doubt my sanity when I found it. A hidden compartment in the library fireplace. Inside was a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed and brittle. The first entry was dated March 12, 1842, penned by Celeste Dubois, my ancestor, from the photograph. Her words painted a vivid picture, a plantation thriving with sugarcane, a family of wealth and secrets, and her own forbidden love for a man named Julien, a slave who worked the fields. Their affair was a quiet rebellion, stolen moments in the bayou under cover of night, but the tone darkened as I read on. Her father discovered them and Julien vanished. The final entry, scrawled in a shaky hand, read, "They took him. The curse is upon us now. I hear her voice in the wind." A chill ran through me. Who was her? I flipped through the remaining pages, but they were blank. The journal felt alive in my hands, its story unfinished. That night, the whispers returned, and I swore I heard a name, Celeste, woven into the sound. The next day, I drove into town seeking answers. The library was a quaint building, its shelves groaning with history. Miss Clara, the librarian, greeted me with a warm smile. "You're the new girl at Magnolia Manor, huh? That place has a reputation." "What kind?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "Haunted, some say. Cursed, others reckon. Back in the day, folks whispered about a voodoo priestess wronged by the Dubois family. Never found proof, though." Her words echoed Celeste's journal. I thanked her and left, stopping by the general store where I met Jake, a mechanic with kind eyes and a quick laugh. He offered to help fix the manor's leaky pipes, and I accepted, grateful for company that didn't come with warnings. Jake arrived the next morning, toolbox in hand. As he worked, I pored over the journal, reading aloud snippets about Celeste and Julien. "Sounds like a tragedy," he said, tightening a valve. "This area's full of them." "Miss Clara mentioned a curse," I ventured. He chuckled. "Folks love a good ghost story. But yeah, there's talk of a priestess, Mama, Zéline. They say she cursed the Dubois line after one of them crossed her, probably just gossip." That afternoon, I visited Old Man Boudreau, a local known for his tales. His shack sat on stilts over the bayou, surrounded by cypress trees. "Magnolia Manor," he rasped, puffing on a pipe. "I seen her once, the lady in white. Stood right on my porch looking sad as sin. Next day, my dog up and died." My skin prickled. "Who was she?" "Celeste, maybe, or the priestess herself." Hard to tell with spirits. His story gnawed at me as I drove home. That night, the whispers grew insistent, and a shadow darted across the hall. I clutched the journal, feeling Celeste's presence in every word. Sleep brought no relief. That night I dreamed of the bayou, muddy water lapping at my feet, the air thick with moss and fear. A man stood before me, tall and dark-eyed, his wrists scarred from chains. Julien. He reached for me, but a woman's voice cut through the mist, sharp and commanding. I woke, gasping, the scent of jasmine lingering. The dreams continued, each more vivid. In one, I was Celeste, hiding in a barn as men with torches shouted Julien's name. In another, I knelt before a woman with piercing eyes, her hands tracing symbols in the dirt. Mama Zeline? The visions felt like memories, pulling me deeper into the past. By day, I was a wreck, jumpy, exhausted. Jake noticed, his brow furrowing. "You okay, Em? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Maybe I have," I muttered, half serious. He didn't laugh. "This place is getting to you. Want me to stay over?" I shook my head, stubborn. But that night, the figure in white appeared again, closer this time. Her lips moved, forming words I couldn't hear. I stumbled back and she faded, leaving a single word scratched into the floor. Justice. I couldn't ignore it anymore. The next day, I sought out Madame Laveau, not the famous Marie, but a descendant living deep in the Bayou. Her home was a riot of herbs and candles, the air buzzing with energy. She studied me with eyes that saw too much. "You got a spirit on you, girl," she said, her voice low. "Old and angry. What you done?" "Nothing. I inherited Magnolia Manor. Things started happening." She nodded, unsurprised. "That's Dubois land. Mama Zeline cursed it long ago. Someone in your line wronged her. Bad. She swore their blood would pay. How do I stop it?" "Find the truth. Give her what she wants. Justice, maybe. Here." She pressed a talisman into my hand, a small pouch tied with red thread. "Keep it close. She's dangerous when riled." I left with more questions than answers, the talisman warm against my skin. That night, the dreams intensified. Julien's screams, Celeste's tears, Zeline's chants. I woke to find the talisman glowing faintly, its heat searing my palm. The journal had hinted at a hidden room, and I tore through the house, tapping walls and prying at floorboards. In the cellar, I found it, a false panel concealing a narrow chamber. Inside were letters, brittle and faded, from Celeste to Julien. One detailed her father's rage, his order to kill Julien and bury him unmarked. Another, written after, confessed her plan to confront him, only to vanish herself. A final letter, unsigned, chilled me. The priestess saw all. Her curse binds us still. Folded within was a map, marking a spot in the bayou. "A grave?" I called. "Jake," and we ventured out at dawn, the map guiding us to a clearing ringed by cypress. We dug, the earth yielding to reveal bones wrapped in tattered cloth. Julien's, I knew it. Nearby, a smaller grave held a woman's locket, Celeste's from the photo. Tears stung my eyes. They died together, hidden from the world. That night, the house erupted. Doors slammed, windows rattled, and the lady in white appeared. Her form solidifying. "Celeste," I whispered. She shook her head, her voice a hiss. "Zeline, you found them. Now end it." End what? The lie. He killed them. Dubois. My daughter loved Julien, and he took her too. My mind reeled. Zeline's daughter? Not Celeste, then. A twist I hadn't seen. How? Tell the truth. Free them. The air thickened, and I felt her rage pressing against me. The talisman burned, and I ran, stumbling to the gravesite. There I shouted the story into the night. Dubois' murder of Julien and his own kin, Zeline's vengeance. The wind howled, then stilled. Zeline appeared, her eyes softening. "It's done," she said, fading into mist. The next day, I buried the bones properly, marking the graves with stones. Jake helped, silent but steady. The talisman cooled, its glow gone. That night, no whispers came, no shadows moved. The house felt lighter, as if exhaling a long-held breath. I sat by the fire, the journal in my lap, and wrote my own ending. Celeste and Julien, reunited at last. Zeline's justice, my redemption. I thought of Mom, of the family I'd never known, and felt a peace I hadn't in months. Weeks later, I decided to stay. Magnolia Manor was mine now, its ghosts laid to rest. I hired Jake to help restore it, dreaming of a bed and breakfast where history could live without haunting. As we worked, I caught myself humming a tune from my dreams, a melody of the Bayou, soft and free. Sometimes I'd smell jasmine or hear a faint whisper, not of anger, but gratitude. The past wasn't gone, just quiet, and I was ready to build a future on its bones.